At 10 months, I took my first steps. At 5 years old was my first day at school, and I met Joe, who became my best friend. At 8, I was taken away from my family and put into care. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Joe. At 12, I was abused whilst in care. I didn't tell anyone for 15 years. At 16, I was arrested for the first time for shoplifting. I was never asked about the bruising on my face. At 18, I moved in with my boyfriend. Shortly after, I was arrested for being drunk and disorderly. No one ever asked me about the pain I was masking. At 19, I gave birth to my beautiful son. I called him James. At 20, I was arrested for shoplifting again. This time, nappies and food for James. In court, I was told I've been given too many chances and was sent to prison. James was taken away from me. At 21, I had no one to meet me at the gate on release from prison. I had nowhere to go. That night, I slept in a bus shelter. At 22, my life was spiraling out of control. I hadn't seen James. I had lost everything. I had no one to turn to.
The root causes of women's offending often relate to mental ill health, substance misuse. Domestic abuse is often common experience of women that we work with.
The women also sometimes do not have suitable accommodation. That may mean that they're sofa surfing or staying at a friend's house, and other times it may actually mean that they're sleeping in the streets, homeless.
So these are often the reasons why women are drawn into offending in the first place. The majority of women in prison have been sentenced for non-violent offences, often theft, like shoplifting.
That is frankly almost pointless, because it doesn't actually have any chance for the prison doing any rehabilitation.
Usually we find that prison just makes a woman's problems much worse than they were when she came into the criminal justice system.
The short sentences, I fear, do nothing but harm. Women will come into prison, they've had to leave very often children have to go into care.
So in terms of the harm is often disproportionate to the kind of offences that women are coming into the criminal justice system for.
And further offending becomes almost inevitable. Part of the difficulty is actually obtaining as much information as you can get before you sentence. The probation service are fully stretched. The information which I think we could do a lot more of is the issues in relation to mental health and the difficulty that they have very often with abuse, which is another factor. This information is not always readily available. We get the previous convictions, we get the details of the offence, but the background for the defendant women is sometimes not as good as we would like.
There's a network of women's centres across the country run by women's charities that are providing safe spaces where women can address the root causes of offending.
The idea behind the one-stop shop is to bring together under one roof a variety of services for that can support the women to address their needs.
So magistrates that have experience of using women's centres as part of their responses to offending tell us that they love to see the results in terms of women not coming back to them again and again. And that's the best reason, we think, that magistrates should focus on in terms of considering the use of women's centres locally?
Women's centres can support magistrates through our very strong working relationships with probation and pre-sentence report writers. The wealth of information that we have from the trusting relationships that we have with the women may enable magistrates to make more informed decisions about appropriate sentencing.
What women tell us is that women's centres provide a hub for services that helps them to reconnect with their communities and to really address the problems that have brought them into the criminal justice system in the first place. And core to that is building trust with those services and building relationships that women's centres play a key role in helping people to rebuild.
The model of support is trauma-informed, non-judgmental, holistic support. And in all of our women's centres, the women can access either a variety of activities, get to speak to advisors from services that may be supporting across a range of areas. And they can also access one-to-one key work. So basically what that means is that we have designated staff that work as advocates, or sometimes we call them case managers, and they provide long-term support to the women.
Every day we see how women's centre services and the relationships that are built in those centres are helping women over the long term to turn their lives around and those of their children. Those centres are at the heart of the solutions that we need to make sure that we stop offending rather than create a revolving door of prison sentences.
At 23, I found myself in court yet again, but this time something different happened. I was led through a different door, behind which I found the Women's Centre.
My Women's Centre gave me a new life, confidence and help.
My Women's Centre gave me a place to be me.
A sense of community.
My Women's Centre gave me somewhere that I felt listened to.
My Women's Centre gave me a sense of pride. I now feel proud of how far I've come.
My Women's Centre gave me companionship and friendship in what feels like a lonely and isolated world.
A lot of help coming out of prison, getting my life sorted out. Self-confidence, motivation, positivity. They got me a flat and a job.
My Women's Centre gave me a place to belong when I was trying to find my way.
My Women's Centre taught me how to trust other people, but most importantly, to trust myself.
My Women's Centre gave me the confidence to achieve all my goals and ambitions.
My Women's Centre believed in me, never judged me, and are always there for me.
My Women's Centre gave me back me, something I never thought possible, helping me identify where I went wrong and walking me back to me.
The strength to carry on, the confidence to move on from bad situations, and most of all, a reason.
A place of safety and trust.
My Women's Centre helped me in getting my children back in my life.
My Women's Centre gave me permanent accommodation.
My Women's Centre helped me see my mum again.
My Women's Centre helped me help others.
Confidence, as I was spoken to like I matter and made to feel human.
My Women's Centre gave me mental strength after years of abuse and trauma. That is something I never felt would be possible.
My Women's Centre gave me a chance in life, a chance to tell my story, be heard and supported. I gained control and was able to set up my first real home for my family. Me and my beautiful son, who I call James.